there's some very specific milestones in there every quarter and every year where there's an opportunity for us to exercise this muscle, the muscle of recognition and celebration. It's a vital piece to running a remarkable business.
Today we're talking about one of the 5 crucial communications, which is the other multiplier. It's E equals MC squared. C squared is crucial communications. And what are the crucial communications? We've identified 5 categories of those. So first is visioneering and vision casting.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
Today we are in the studio and I'm wearing my ChiroFest hat. It's memorable to me. It's ChiroFest weekend. We are recording today. So big shout out to Dr. Paul Reed and everybody over at ChiroFest. I have a special, ChiroFest is a special moment for me, and I know for Dr. Stephen, because that is actually where we first met in person, 2017. Both of us had an opportunity to speak on that stage in 2017, and we happened to be there at the same time, meet each other. I remember meeting you. I remember having a great workout with you the next day with Dr. Paul Reed and a few others, and that was really the beginning of our friendship. It was just such a spectacular time, and just very, very grateful. So anyway, if you're watching this, I got my I am chiropractic hat on from circa back to 2017 for me and Dr. Stephen. So our meeting place, which was wonderful out there in I guess it's Portland, Washington, somewhere out there on that the border of Washington State. And look at you. Got what's this picture?
Fun fact, I'm holding up my phone for those that are just listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's Dr. Paul Reed and Dr. Berger Conradson at ChiroFest. Literally just came in. Like, how creepy is that?
That is awesome.
Like, Paul Reed's awesome, great friend, great chiropractic warrior. He's an awesome person. He and I were in an accountability group together for years. So, Paul, love you, man. I know you listen to our podcast, man. You're doing great work. Thanks for all you do for Chiropractic. If you haven't been to ChiroFest, get to ChiroFest, man. Are you kidding me? It's one of the best seminars in chiropractic today and has been for years. So Dr. Paul Reed, keep up the great work. And Dr. Lona Cook, we are stoked to have you on the stage representing the remarkable practice this weekend. You're going to rock it, lady.
Yeah. So thank you again for everyone who is committed to helping advance this great profession of ours, chiropractic. And I just want to recognize those people who are. And so, yes, I'm with you, Dr. Stephen. Thank you, Dr. Paul Reed, and for everybody who's a part of putting that on. And we know, because we put on events in Remarkable Practice. We have our immersions. We do 3 immersions every year in North America, and we do 3 immersions every year in Australia. And we've been doing even some small events as well, smaller events in different regional events, and we'll be doing more of those. I'm confident here into the future. It's a lot to do that, to put on events. So really appreciate you for doing that.
Those intensives have been awesome. A lot of fun doing those intensives. We did one in Calgary this year. We did one recently in New Zealand. I know next year we're going to be back. We're going to do New Zealand. Looks like Singapore. So yeah, give us, reach out to us, guys, if you want us to come and do a 1-day intensive. We really, we're developing Europe over the next couple of years. So keep us in mind, reach out to us, let us know, hey, we'd love to host you guys and come out and do a 1-day intensive, and we'll get after it.
Yeah, that's great. So Dr. Stephen, with that, today's topic is something that is a vital piece of what we call our E equals MC squared, which is a formula for energy. Really, we talk about energy as everything, but what does that mean? So today we're going to break it down, and we're going to get into a component of the business leadership component of you being a great leader and running a remarkable business, is the concept and component of the equation of recognition and celebration. Dr. Stephen, it's, if you're listening to this podcast, we are right here at the transition between quarters. Maybe you're listening to this as you head towards the end of the year. And I'll tell you, there's some very specific milestones in there every quarter and every year where there's an opportunity for us to exercise this muscle, the muscle of recognition and celebration. It's a vital piece to running a remarkable business. And Dr. Stephen, I'm just eager to dig in to this with you today and with all of our great CEOs who are listening in today.
Yeah, energy is everything, right? So we love to say that as chiropractors and as business leaders, so we're energetic beings having a physical experience, and your business is a living organism, it, right? So and has an energy, right? And we know the truth. The law of the jungle is when the energy's up, your business is up. When your energy is flat, the business is flat. Energy's down, the business is down. We all know it. Nobody will deny it. Nobody can explain it, but at the end of the day, we try to create some level of influence in the energy component of our business. As CEOs, chief energy officers, it is absolutely our job to not only stay aware of and be constantly taking the temperature of our business, but to be influencing the energy of the business, right? So we created an equation for this, a construct for you, so you feel like you could actually put your foot on the gas, right? So, and it's equals MC squared, which is energy equals money times crucial communications, right? So energy, enthusiasm, engagement, fill in your favorite E in there, equals money times crucial communication. So the first multiplier is money. And that is compensation, right? So it is making sure that you get the money right, right? So, I believe that we should not just be fair and be a fair exchange. I feel like we should want to be known as generous, right? Generous leaders, right? So if you're going to attract A players, it's going to be 20% above what market calls for, right? So, that right there puts you quantitatively, into being generous, on the generous side of money. But at the same time, we recognize that money is expensive. Okay. And people metabolize money, right? So it's a very powerful motivator. And everyone is motivated to a degree. Don't say, oh, they're not motivated by money. Watch how quickly people can be demotivated if you don't get the money right, right? So it's a continuum, right? So it doesn't mean that people are money hungry. Don't put a negative connotation on that. It's just like, we all want money. We all need money. Some more than others, because money is electricity. It energizes everything, right? So you just have to recognize that's part of the component, but that's not today's conversation, right? So we're not talking about compensation, incentives, commissions, benefits, etc. Like, we're not talking about that. Today we're talking about one of the 5 crucial communications, which is the other multiplier. It's E equals MC squared. C squared is crucial communications. And what are the crucial communications? We've identified 5 categories of those. So first is visioneering and vision casting. The second is setting expectations and agreements, including goal setting, training and equipping and developing your people. Then it's setting guardrails and discipline. And then finally, it's recognition and celebration, right? So making sure that we are super clear that these are readily available, they're infinitely divisible, and they're free, right? So as a CEO is looking to energize your business and optimize the output, productivity, and profitability of your business, you have to become masterful at this equals MC squared equation, and definitely masterful around these crucial communications. Dr. Pete, today we're going to talk about what I would consider the most powerful of these crucial communications, number 5, which is recognition and celebration.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen, I love this. I love where you went, where you talked about how, money is expensive. And one of the first things that, a CEO will talk to us about, especially when we go through the scorecard as an example, I'm going to use the scorecard as an example, because we talk about, bonuses and we talk about compensation, and that conversation comes up a lot for us as CEOs in our meetings. But what we don't talk enough about, Dr. Stephen, is this, which is recognition and celebration. So I hope this podcast lands right in the center for you right now. This is a bullseye for you, because I think as CEOs, Dr. Stephen, we get so focused on one thing, let's call it the money, and we don't get we forget about the 5 crucial communications. This is something we forget about. So we're not going through all 5 today, Dr. Stephen, but we're going through one that we know is a vital one, because I believe that every single person has a tank that needs to be filled regularly with recognition. And we have an opportunity to recognize individuals, and we have an opportunity to celebrate together as a team. And Dr. Stephen, you taught me this. I love this. this phrase and this concept of catching people doing what's right. And that's an important thing. You talk about energy. And I have been the other leader. I have been that person before where I have been the critical leader. I've been the critic in the room, the most critical eye. I always can see what's wrong. I can always tell you the 3 things that you could do better. And I have, that's been a challenge that I have had in my life and in my leadership, is recognizing that my first instinct is to actually point out what's wrong and what you could do better. But actually, it takes a level of discipline, restraint, and focus to have the perspective of what did you do right? And then to look for opportunities to catch people doing what's right, doing something right and doing something well. And Dr. Stephen, I picked this up from you years ago, and I've been deploying this in my home, which tends to be a rich opportunity for me on a regular basis to be challenged with this, but to recognize, like, hey, what did they do right, versus constantly trying to, refine. And I have been entrusted with raising adults, right? And they happen to be small now, and they're getting bigger. So the opportunity to develop and raise up leaders within our organization, that's what this is. This is an opportunity for us through recognition, celebration, through exercising this muscle. So Dr. Stephen, the first thing I want to talk about is our heart. I want to talk about heart, because we talk about heart, head, hands, feet. The heart of this is that people need to know they are valued. People need to know that they're worthy, and they need to know that they're loved. Every person on your team has that need and desire and needs to know that. And so it's our first role to show up and show up first with the loving, kind, gentle, generous, compassionate hand that says, hey, you know what? You are valuable. And my role, first and foremost, is to recognize your worth and your value, and to shine a light on your strength and shine a light on your genius. And that's why it's so important to, in our 4 rights, getting the right person in the right role, doing the right work the right way. It's so important to do this, because when you get that right person and you put them in the right role, they're doing the right work the right way, you have lots of opportunities to point out what they're doing right and to recognize them for that. And so, Dr. Stephen, this is, for me, it's a heart issue first. And then once we get our heart right as leaders, and then we can get into the, head, hands, and feet component, which we're going to go to. I'm confident we're going to get to some of that today. But the heart part first. So I just want us as leaders listening to check our heart and say, you know what? Have I been more critical, pointing out things that are wrong? And do I need to do a heart check and say, you know what? I'm going to show up every week and identify what are people doing right? And I'm going to start to build a discipline into my life and pointing out things that people are doing right and get better at that. I think that would be a major transformation for many of us leaders, because I know it has been for me.
Yeah. So Dr. Pete, I want to relieve you, of feeling like maybe you were off course for a while. I would say, here's what I know to be true, is every great leader that I know eventually ends up at a place where they recognize the power of recognition and celebration, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how they bring out the best in their team, and they get and they actually get what everybody wants, right? So more productivity, more profitability, and more fulfillment, frankly, because you surround yourself with a bunch of people that are experiencing peace, love, and joy in their work, right? And in the workplace, right? So, I would suggest that every single successful leader could also tell you that they spent a season with a critical spirit. And I think that that's just part of the plan, right? So this is like part of God's training. I think the critical spirit and being really good with your critical spirit is almost the yellow belt, on your journey of becoming a black belt leader, right? So the yellow belt of, recognizing what's right and what's wrong, starting with yourself and then getting it outside of yourself to like process, procedures, behaviors, people, et cetera, right? So that critical spirit makes you a really effective doctor too, by the way, right? So you may be a tremendous pain in the ass to everybody around you. Trust me, we all spend a season like that, right? So, but what you're doing is you're developing a skill set. There's an awareness, a 360-degree vision for the ability to see what's right and what's wrong, it's what you do after realizing something's right or it's wrong, and how you fix it is what really matters, right? So I know that I think I spent a season where I was trying to get a black belt in critical spirit. what I recognized there was, man, I could see what was right and what was wrong, who was right and who was wrong, and almost, you're almost always the most experienced in the room, so you're most likely right in those situations. But when you're leading a team, sometimes being right is too expensive. Sometimes you recognize that you can get through the forest, but you take down all the trees, and it's just too expensive, right? And there's just a better and more graceful way to do this, right? So, and to recognize that with an acute awareness and having the visual acuity to see what's right and what's wrong, and how to go from right to wrong, and how to do things better. It's all about how you address the people around you and the team around you, and getting them to do it that way, right? And ultimately using these crucial communications of recognition and celebration. And like you said, catching people doing things right is just such a better management style, right? So it is even more effective. It is even more efficient. And ultimately, I think it just creates a much better experience for you and for everybody that you're, blessed to be having the privilege to lead and to trust.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen, I think, I love that you said that, and thank you for kind of like reversing and going back a little bit and recapping that, because, if you're listening to this and you find yourself in a state where you're struggling with the fact that maybe you are that perfectionist Clydesdale control freak, and you're still battling that, because that's something that's real, or it's reared its ugly head recently because something happened in the business, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I've been acting like a 2-year-old again, like I'm 2 years in practice and I've been doing this 22 years, and why am I acting like that again? It's, maybe there's something happened, a change in the business, and you're feeling a little bit of the stress and pressure. I think number one is what you just talked about, is recognizing that it always comes back to vision. We talk about the 5, and I think there's an order to this for a reason, because it comes back to vision. So if you find yourself having a struggle with recognition, celebration, go back to your vision. And what is it that you're wanting to accomplish? What does success look like? It's very important to have that and have an eye on your vision, so you can have perspective and you have an understanding that of where we want to go and where we're trying to go. And you recognize that there's no way that we're going to be able to go there unless that you come with, that we go together. And so there's this idea of slowing down to speed up. And sometimes recognition, celebration feels like slowing down. You just want to go on to the next goal, go and conquer the next thing. But actually, it's a discipline to slow down, to speed up. And you said that you get more of what you want, the fulfillment, the productivity, the profitability, all these things on the other side of recognition and celebration. I love the quote that what you reward gets repeated, right? I love that. Like, we want to repeat certain things. We reward recognize people for the behavior that they did, for their attitude, and the outcome. Right? Sometimes the outcome isn't there, but I recognize you for the effort and the energy you put in. That's what happens sometimes. Sometimes we recognize people, even though the outcome wasn't exactly what they were hoping for, I was hoping for, but the behavior that they had, the activities that they did, the energy that was in it, the commitment that they had, the character that was demonstrated, the values, the core values that were showcased, I recognize that. And that's why, Dr. Stephen, one of the things that I love to recognize people for is core value demonstration. How did you demonstrate this core value over this past quarter, over this past year? And Dr. Stephen, you do a great job with this in our organization, of recognizing regularly people on our team who are demonstrating the value, one of our core values. And we do that regularly, publicly, as a team. Such a big deal. And we do that, there's layers of that we do within our organization. So, but we are doing this. And anytime that I have been recognized, it's literally like, it's the wind beneath your wings, right? And, they like to say it's better to give than to receive. It's one of those moments where, you know what, you may not feel it in the moment as you're recognizing. I think you should, but it's the right thing to do. That's what it's about. It's like the CEO, COO, same page meeting. The goal isn't to be right. The goal is to do the right thing. And the right thing to do as the leader of your organization is to recognize people in your organization for demonstrating their core values, for walking it out, for achieving some outcome, a goal that they've been working towards, and making sure you have a built-in discipline and cadence where you do that regularly. And I'm gonna challenge you that you need to put it in your calendar. You know, I've had CEOs I've worked with where it's like, hey, I really struggle with this. Great. You need to put in your Friday a friendly reminder, a notification that says, send an encouraging message to one of your team members who it just about something they did that you caught them doing right this week, or you caught wind of, and you just want to say, hey, I want to point that out. So sometimes we just got to make this very practical. We build it into our quarterly cadence. You can even build it into a weekly rhythm for yourself as a leader and a CEO, and I would encourage you to do so.
I love it. Yeah. So, schedule it. What goes on your schedule happens, right? So, in something that's this powerful and this important, don't leave it to chance, because some of you might be saying to yourself, "Wow, it's unnatural for me. It's just critical spirit." Now you're talking. That's my love language, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm not really though. It's a skill set that you should internalize. And then your outward expression is really what matters, especially when it comes to your team, right? So, and make this a matter of the heart. It's not meant to be contrived. This has got to be authentic, right? So, and for some of you, you need to just develop the muscle, because you've got neural pathways that you've been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years. And you're like, my goodness, this stuff's ingrained. It is. But the neuroplasticity opportunity here is incredible. And you've got to develop that muscle. So, make it intentional, make it literally part of your process to make it part of your culture, right? So recognition is about recognizing an individual's behavior, right? And celebration is about celebrating outcomes, whether it's an individual or teams, right? So for us, I think that we do a great job in the state of our company address, that we do every quarter, where, we walk through our core values in a way where we talk about a person on the team specifically, just demonstrating and walking out and living out the core values of the Remarkable Practice. It's just a great way to recognize people and keep those core values front of mind for people. Don't leave them up for interpretation. There's no lack of clarity what they mean, especially when they hear it lived out as a story, right? And recognizing somebody for their behavior, right, around that. And then celebration, we had just talked about the 7-figure club that we have in the Remarkable Practice. We awarded 56 7-figure clubs this past year, for doctors doctors, clinics, teams of chiropractors who are crossing the 7-figure mark for the first time, or their next 7-figure mark, right? So whether they broke $1 million in revenue the first time, whether they went from 1 million to 2 million for the first time, 2 to 3 million, 3 to 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and our largest business broke 36 million this year, right? So it's like, if we had 56 new businesses cross that threshold, and we recognize them publicly, right? So we know the truth is money follows value, right? So money follows value. And what a better way to recognize the team and how much value that they're contributing and putting into their communities. Ultimately, we know the expression, but I want you to listen to it. What the world needs now is chiropractic. What the world needs now is chiropractic. And what chiropractic needs right now is more successful chiropractors. And this is just a way of us recognizing the behaviors and the celebrating the milestone of somebody crossing over the threshold of giving that much value back into the business, right? So, Dr. Pete, you said it, and I'll wrap it with this. You don't get what you want, you get what you recognize.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy. All right, Remarkable CEO podcast. Dr. Pete here, interviewing two of my favorite people in chiropractic, Dr. Jeff Langmaid, Dr. Jason Deitch from Smart Chiropractor and Patient Pilot and Remarkable Success Partners. And we are excited because you are remarkable CEOs. You are innovators in the marketplace, and you're CEOs opening businesses that are helping chiropractors help more people. That's what you've been doing historically for this great profession of ours. And so it's an honor for me to have you on our podcast to interview you today. You've interviewed me before, and now I get to interview you. So to all of our listeners, these are beloved friends of the Remarkable Practice, Dr. Franson and myself, and of our chiropractic profession. So I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, already know who they are, but you may not know what they're up to because they're always up to something new. At least I feel like they're always in the innovation space, helping doctors more effectively reach more people. So first, I'll just let y'all introduce yourselves to our audience to make sure they know who you are, whatever you want to share about them. Then I've got some questions for you for today. So I'll throw it over to Dr. Jeff, throw it over to you first.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pete. I am super excited to be here. My name is Dr. Jeff Langmaid, and I am with the Smart Chiropractor. I've known Dr. Steven, yourself, Dr. Jason for many moons, including many of your coaches. And my goal, my job, as I see it, is to help chiropractors be more successful in practice. That is a perfect complement to what you do at TRP. And we're going to get into the details of that on this episode.
And I'm Dr. Jason Deitch, and I won't repeat anything that's already been there, but we're happy to be here. And it really is our focus. Jeff and I have been for many decades, along with Dr. Franson and Camiolo, trying to help chiropractors be more effective at communicating your message. And we'll talk more about that specifically as it relates to reactivating the people you've seen before in the past. We think it's one of the most underutilized conversations, resources, may just be what we believe your most valuable asset. And so that's what we've been doing, is bringing new ideas to the profession, highlighting areas of opportunities of growth that are often counterintuitive to what the prevailing consciousness is. And I'm looking forward to getting into more detail of that today.
All right. Well, you said a lot of things already. Growth was a big one. I like that. I like counterintuitive. And I also like that it might be the most important thing that you could be doing right now. So that's a lot of things that we're going to get into. So let's do it. So first question, obviously, I have always is in regards to the purpose of a business, which is the purpose of a business is to solve a problem for someone else. And so you are in the problem solving industry. You are, as a chiropractor, solving people's problems now in the space, in the communication space, solving issues with communication. And right now, more than ever before, there's all this noise, but are we really actually communicating? Are we really actually reaching people? So I'd like to just throw it over to you first and foremost. Like, what are you seeing is the specific problems, specifically in the area of the communication realm, that you've identified that now is the time to solve? So let's jump right in.
Yeah, in my mind, Dr. Pete, there's a couple things that come top of mind. One of them is, as you teach, relative to net momentum, helping docs not only generate more new patients, but also reactivations. And when new patients and reactivations exceed your inactivations or churn patients, you have, as Dr. Steven says, an infinitely sustainable business. There are too many docs out there that are overly reliant upon deep discount paid ads because they're not using their email list, and the money is in the list. We hear it all the time, but docs listening and watching, I'm going to say, imagine that day when you have automations that go out and you see your schedule fill up with people who know, like, and trust you, and you didn't have to do any of the grit and grind to do that. That is what automated email campaigns do. It allows the doctor to have more freedom because their schedule remains more full by not ignoring their most valuable patients, as Jason would say, the people that you've already built these relationships with. Jason, that's what's so critical in my mind.
It's exactly it. We have been taught that we need to focus on getting more new patients into our practice, and that's true. What most have not been taught is what we learned in kindergarten. You make new friends, but you keep the old. You're supposed to stay in touch with the people that have already been in to see you before. And if you put on your business hat, your CEO hat for a moment, statistics, you've all heard them. It's 5 times more expensive to process a new client than it is to reactivate an existing client. Not only just the stats, but you also know the feeling of having to process somebody new and all of the new orientation and, going through their kicking of the tires and weeding out the deal shoppers versus the people who are really interested, versus those people that have been in your practice, have had a positive experience, and for whatever reason, life gets in the way, stopped care, didn't follow their care plan. But then because of these automated email campaigns, that's what Patient Pilot is, because of these automated emails that go out to the people who've already been in to see you in the unique way we do it, that stimulates reactivations of those people back in your practice. And instead of howdy stranger, it's, oh my goodness, it's been so long. I'm so glad to see you. Welcome back. It's so great to see you and your family back into the habit. Let's get going.
So good. You're speaking our love language right now. You're speaking KPIs. I heard NetMo and churn rate and total active patients, and you talked about the front end and kind of everyone gets so focused on getting new people in, but you're missing the golden goose here. And so I love going back to the lessons we learned in kindergarten about keeping the relationships with the people. So I want to talk about, with that in mind, the return on the investment as a CEO. You used words like automation, which to me is a leverage type word. You used the word campaign, which to me says there's a level of organization, structure, planning. You use the word email, which to me is a methodology of communication that sometimes seems like, are people still doing that? So can you talk a little bit about, to the CEOs who are listening, about this automated email campaign? Can you unpack this for us? And what's a kind of an ROI? You talked about the 5X, how much more cost effective it is to reactivate or keep a current customer, or reactivate a previously, happy customer with you, versus going out and having to get somebody new and reestablish or establish a relationship from the beginning. Can you talk about the ROI that a doctor can expect from investing in automated email marketing, a specific product and service that now is available and maybe was never available before? Dr. Jeff, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I'm going to ask Jason to talk about our strategy with Teach and Invite that you touched on, Pete, but I'm going to hit some fast and furious stats. So everybody listening, take out the pencils and paper, because now is the time where we're going to get deep into the stats. And here they are. It is 5 times more expensive to acquire a new patient than it is to keep an existing patient or client. That is a minimum. Quite often it is more expensive than that. Additionally, we see for every 100 email list subscribers that you have, inactive patients, past patients, every 100 subscribers, we are generating 2.6 to be exact, 2+ reactivations each month. So for every 1,000 email list subscribers you have, or people in your EHR, you should be 20+ reactivations, click to call, click to schedule. That is what we see on average each month. So if you are not getting that, that is missed opportunity every single day. And that really is the crux of it right now, is many people have spent so much time, effort, energy building fantastic relationships with people in their community, maybe 10,000 plus some docs out there listening and watching, yet each and every week they are still looking for new patients. You might never have the zero need for new patients, but I can tell you 99% of chiropractors are overly reliant on new patient acquisition because they're not having the systems, automations, and processes necessary to drive consistent reactivations that can fill the schedule each and every week. But there is a strategy and a way to do it that you notice I said teach and invite consistently. Jason can unpack that. It's not discount and annoy every now and again. Teach and invite consistently is really the name of the game, Jason.
Pete, I love, this is a nuanced conversation, and it's about communication, although many consider the conversation of marketing. The problem with calling it marketing is that most people think that marketing exclusively means advertising. That's not the only way to get somebody into your practice. Communicating with the people who you've already seen, who already know, like, and trust you, is another form of, quote, marketing that requires zero ad spend. It's called common sense and doing the right thing. So it is through this teach and invite consistently philosophy that is different than, quote, traditional marketing. What's your ad? What's your call to action? What's your deep discount? What's your ROI? That's a different conversation than what would happen if you have 500, 1,000, 5,000. We have docs that have over 10,000 people on their email list. Those are people you can and should be connecting with, communicating with on a consistent basis. The question comes up, what am I communicating? What am I saying? Teach and invite consistently. That means, as many of us have learned, marketing isn't about selling your product. As you talk about it, it's solving a need, which means you've got to speak into who's your audience and what is it that they want to know about themselves that you can be teaching them on a consistent basis that, of course, is aligned with chiropractic principles, backed by research, packaged in a beautifully designed way that includes, we call it teach, that's the teach part, and invite. That includes very strategic buttons that are really large in every single email that say click to call, click to schedule, your invite or call to action. That's what we're tracking. So instead of feeling like it's spam, which is what people go, email, do they even do that anymore? Is email marketing really a thing? We are not talking about buying a list and spamming strangers with a message they never wanted to hear from anyone. That's what most people think. And that part is dead. It doesn't work very well that way. And it's against the law. What we're talking about is you keeping in touch with the people that have been in to see you before, teaching them something out of your generosity, knowledge, and expertise, inviting them to click back onto your schedule, call back onto your schedule, and doing that consistently over and over. That's where automation is necessary. One of our taglines, you might want to remember it and write it down, is that the key to success is consistency, but the key to consistency is automation. And so that's really where, we teach the idea. Many chiropractors say, I do that. And then we go, how effective is it? And they go, well, it takes a lot of time to do myself. I don't always get it really right. It's difficult to do when I miss some weeks. It is cheaper and easier to basically outsource it out to our team to do for you, because it's as if it came from you. Your logo, your practice, your email address. It is your emails to your people. And we just automate the process for everybody.
So good. I mean, you guys are laying it down right now. It's just airtight. And so it just leads me to, as CEOs, we always teach that we think and we operate in 3 frames of time. We operate in the now, which is answering the question, what's important now? We operate in the next, which says what's important next. And then we operate in ultimately, which is what's important ultimately. And we like to organize that in the lengths of time, the time of ultimately, let's say in the next 2 to 3 years, and the now, the next time is the next, let's say 12 months, 6 to 12 months. And the now time is this next 90 days, like the current quarter that we find ourselves. I'd love for you to speak about really into this as you in the marketplace. You guys have studied the marketplace. You are studying the chiro space. You've been doing it for decades. You've seen the trends that have come. You've seen the trends that have gone. You've seen where things are at. And you also see where the puck is going in many ways. So I'd like to talk about where the future of chiropractic communication is going. You've already spoken to it, but I would like to just take a little bit of a perch, go up a little bit and look ahead and say, okay, where do you see our profession going? From where we are now, next, and ultimately, so we can, as doctors and CEOs, be most prepared to succeed in the future, and why this is such an important conversation that we're having in the present.
Pete, that's a great question. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is automation, is being able to leverage automation in your practice so that you don't have to be the person wearing 17 different hats. There are so many tools, systems, and people that can help. And that helps leverage your time to do what's best for you. So I think the foundational concept that I bring across is the automation is the critical component. Now, in terms of communication, I see this continuing to be, this will be the story for the last 50 years, but I think it's going to continue on, more personalized to the person. Many chiropractors out there, and I won't call out some, I know off the top of my head, but their websites speak more about them than what the patient's experiencing and going through. So from a copywriting and communication perspective, you want to meet people where they are at and guide them along in the process, one step at a time. So regardless of how, or maybe, in alignment with how you vision your practice and who your ideal patient and client is, your communications should be a reflection of that. That's why we have a couple of different levels of service with what we do. Is there are some docs out there that have very niche practices. We build pro or customized campaigns for them. The more specific you can be with your communications, the better the result will be. So I believe it is a combination of automation and specificity that helps chiropractors go to the next level, because it helps people understand how a chiropractor can benefit them. which is the first step towards a buying decision. Jason?
Pete, it is a really great question. And I'm going to approach it from, you ask what the future is and how are we going to get to that future? And the answer, in my opinion, is when more chiropractors really understand, when we make the statement, your money is in your list, your money, your revenue, your future revenue is tied to the number of people you can share a message, share a video, share a story, share an invitation with, that you can connect with for free every day if you wanted to. Understand the power of being able to communicate with people that want to hear from you for free every day, compared to having to spend money to interrupt strangers that don't really want to hear from you. That is a different communication, it is a different conversation. When more chiropractors truly lean into the understanding of really staying in touch with the people that have been in to see them. And this is the audience, okay? If you're a CEO here, you're not in startup mode, okay? And the value of these automations, the value in what we're talking about, your email being in your list, is having a list. And nobody starting a practice has a list. But if you've been in practice long enough, if you think about it just for a moment, you pause, you calculate how many new patients you get per month on an average basis over the number of years you've been in practice, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years and more. Okay, if you're in CEO, you didn't just get here. You've been doing this for a while. How many people have been in to see you? How many of those people are with you now? And where are all those other people? And why aren't they still in your practice? It's not because they didn't get results. It's not because they don't like you. It's not for any of the ridiculous excuses we probably think. It's for one simple reason. We're not staying in touch with them consistently enough with information that's valuable to them. Again, not just spam, not just some random newsletter that somebody came up with because it checks the box that I'm sending a newsletter like they said I should, but really quality information that speaks to who they are, what their goals are, what information they're interested in. And I remind you, with big buttons that say, click to call, click to schedule, so that they can have that aha moment. I've been meaning to call you. I've been meaning to get back in. Thank you for staying in touch with me. Thank you for being generous enough to care to keep me informed with what I know I need to know for me and my body, my health. And by the way, thanks for making it so easy to click and get back in to see you. The asset is those thousands of people you've seen in the past. You are ghosting, literally, and getting back in touch with them and having them come on back, and all the cascading effects that come from that. I've been meaning to bring my family. My friends been asking about you with referrals. It is, to me, the future, is that shift in awareness. Everybody will need new patients at some point at some level. But when you really do the math, I hear chiropractors, I get 100 new patients a month, and they've been in practice for decades. You go, where did everybody go? So that, I think, is very much the shift, is really communicating with that audience in a teach and invite consistently format.
So powerful. So good. And what a message to our CEO listeners here today. So if you're tuning in to this, this is a very timely meeting. This is a CEO, mastermind moment right here. So you really brought it. Doctors Jason and Jeff, really appreciate you joining me here and taking the time to be on our CEO podcast. And thank you for being one of our trusted, remarkable success partners and experts in this community. How would a listener take the next step? How do they learn more? How do you recommend they connect with you? I'll leave that to you guys to let our great audience know what the next step could be.
Yeah, we have actually, for Remarkable Practice clients, we have a fantastic Remarkable Communications program that provides an aspect of what we discussed completely for free. You can go to smartchiropractor.com/TRP. That'll get you there. If you're not yet a client of the Remarkable Practice, I'm going to suggest you do that first, but you can also visit thesmartchiropractor.com where you will receive all the information on Patient Pilot. So for the Remarkables, we've created a specific TRP version that includes the Dirty Dozen, body signals, content, etc., to automate the systems and processes we discussed so they can get started at thesmartchiropractor.com/TRP. Everybody else out there and listening, go to the Remarkable Practice, become a client, then head to thesmartchiropractor.com/TRP, and we'll be waiting to talk to you over there.
Well, there it is. Well, I appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you, Doc. Dr. Jason, thank you for joining me. And thank you to all of you who are listening to this podcast. And thank you for being a part of the movement where we are going to continue to reach more people, to restore health to humanity. Remember to tune in every Tuesday to the Remarkable CEO podcast. And I look very forward to being with you again next week. Until then, take care, everyone. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.